5:05. We're looking at pleasant, breezy weather for baseball, but I'm glad we're getting this game in today, and it was yesterday and today, Oakland first, then San Francisco, because not the best weather for baseball after today. We're looking at rain chances returning. Sunshine today. We'll see lots of sunshine this afternoon if you're not already seeing that. And then that storm is going to roll in, and we will see an unsettled weather pattern as two different storms will be rolling through, the first of which gets here tomorrow. Not just rain, often when a storm moves in from the north and west, wind comes along with it. And in San Francisco, we could see wind gusts as high as 27 miles per hour tomorrow evening. Oakland, 25 miles per hour, and Half Moon Bay, mid-20s as well. So it's going to be breezy to windy as well as soggy. Let's time out that rainfall because it really depends on where you live. Because today, all of us stay dry. The storm is coming in from the north, so the North Bay will see clouds and rainfall moving in first. That will happen in Sonoma County and Mendocino County before sunrise on Wednesday. Light to moderate rain at times through mid-afternoon. And then the boundary gets here, and that's when all of us have an opportunity. Even the East Bay and the South Bay, you'll get some rainfall Wednesday evening and Wednesday night. Rainfall totals, we could see up to an inch in a few spots, including Napa, about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch in Petaluma, and San Francisco coming in at 1/2 of an inch of rain. Farther to the south, Half Moon Bay, 4/10 of an inch, and San Jose about 1/7 of 1 inch of rainfall. So what are we talking about for today? Today, we're talking about a pleasant, dry day. Upper 60s for San Jose, mid 60s for Fremont and Redwood City, 64 in Oakland, 61 in San Francisco, 60s for Novato, up to 67, and a very chilly start in Petaluma, but you're looking at afternoon highs making it into the upper 60s. Your extended forecast, please enjoy that dry while we have it. Today we're dry, and then after that, not for a while. Rain chance Wednesday evening. We're between systems, but still some scattered showers on Thursday. I didn't get a chance to talk much about the Friday, Saturday storm system. That's going to be around for a while. Take a look at those highs, only around 60, with much of your holiday weekend looking soggy. That's your forecast.
Well, the NTSB is headed to Baltimore after that cargo ship slammed to a bridge overnight. The structure collapsed, sending construction workers, cars, and into the water. The Coast Guard and other agencies are using sonar and drones as they search for possible survivors. Before the crash, officials say the crew notified state officials that the ship lost propulsion and then it might hit the bridge. The governor says at this point it appears to be an accident. There's no evidence of a terrorist attack. The Baltimore Bridge does serve 31,000 travelers every day. Here in our Bay Area, our busiest bridge is the Bay Bridge with nearly 115,000 cars every day. 42,000 drivers travel the Golden Gate Bridge, and the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge is the closest comparison to the Francis Scott Key Bridge, serving about 36,000 cars every day. And the collapse in Baltimore raising questions. How safe are our bridges right here? Could we see something like this? Well, we asked a professor at Cal State East Bay.
We are as safe as we can be, and the bridge is designed as safely as it can be designed. However, you cannot avoid these accidents. You know, the hydraulics goes out and the ship is out of control and rams into the pier. That's definitely a recipe for disaster.
Well, taking a look back, there have been a couple of crashes into the Old Bay Bridge. Back in 2013, an empty oil tanker caused minor damage when it struck the base of the bridge. The 752-foot overseas Ramar rammed into the tower as it headed out to sea after unloading crude oil at the Martinez refinery. And in 2007, another container ship, the Costco Busan, had a run-in with the Bay Bridge, spilling about 52,000 gallons of oil into the bay. Crews spent months cleaning up the damage. The ship's pilot and 2 shipping companies responsible for the spill paid $44.4 million in a settlement. We'll continue to update you on this story on air and on our website at kpix.com and streaming on the free CBS News app. California is on the brink of a home insurance crisis. The latest blow came last week when State Farm announced it would not renew tens of thousands of policies across the state. Other insurers, including Allstate, Farmers, and Nationwide, have taken similar action, citing high costs and the threat of wildfires. Now, a growing number of homeowners are turning to the California Fair Plan. That plan was created in 1968 as a place for people to get fire insurance when no one else would offer it to them. Today, as more people enter the program, there's concern that one major fire could wipe out every last dollar. John Ramos has that story.
Catastrophic wildfires have turned areas that were never seen as high risk into places where fire insurance isn't even available. Sacramento is beginning to see the scope of the problem. Last week, the California Department of Insurance held a hearing about the state of the FAIR plan, and those who run the program didn't exactly have good news.
The FAIR plan continues to grow in size as consumers find themselves without coverage. As a result, we have doubled in size in the last 3 years.
By law, every insurer operating in the state has to participate in the FAIR plan. But if losses exceed the plan's funding, the rest must be made up by the insurance companies, who will pass it on to consumers as a surcharge. Insurance broker Carl Sussman says the size of the FAIR plan now makes that inevitable.
FAIR plan has about $300 billion in total exposure, meaning how much they actually insure, and about $200 million in the bank. So it's not hard to see that in the event of a large catastrophic event, they're not going to have the funds to be able to pay for it.
For many companies, this financial burden will be too great, and they may result in them pulling out and no longer writing insurance in the state.
That's already happening. State Farm just announced that it will not be renewing another 70,000 policies in California. So the state is creating what's called the Sustainable Insurance Strategy, changing regulations that would allow insurers to charge more for homes in high-risk areas.
And what this is going to do is it's going to allow carriers to come back into the market. Right now, we have rates that are extremely high. And this is what happens when you don't have competition, right? When you have basically no private industry working and people are relying on the FAIR plan, the rate's going to be high. So once the carriers all come back and start competing again, we'll see rates come down.
But Harvey Rosenfield, the founder of Consumer Watchdog, says the insurance companies are intentionally forcing homeowners into the FAIR plan as a way of getting every homeowner in the state to pay the FAIR plan's losses.
From our point of view, we see this as creating a scare tactic to create an opportunity for the legislature to bail the insurance industry out by forcing every homeowner in the state to pay off the debts of the FAIR plan, whether you're in a risky area or not.
As wildfires grow in size, so does the cost of recovery. It is a cost that will eventually be borne by everyone, which means no one will be very happy about it.
Well, the Department of Insurance is holding a public hearing today on the first set of guidelines for the new Sustainable Insurance Strategy. Healthcare workers in Daly City are on the second day of their two-day strike. Employees at Seton Medical Center say their healthcare is so bad it is putting them at risk. Hundreds of workers hit the picket lines today, or picket lines starting yesterday. In addition to better benefits, they're also demanding higher wages and more staffing. There's also concern about the future of the hospital, which has been hit by job cuts and other service cuts for all employees, including nurses.
I have been trying to get an MRI myself, and I have been unable to get authorization for that because they don't want to take their own workers here as patients.
Our Kelsey Thord spoke to one of the workers who says Seton's new health plan is limiting coverage for her family.
Rochelle Ortua has worked at Seton Medical Center for years. She loves the community of people at the hospital and grew up just blocks from its campus. But now Rochelle says she's in a tough spot. She says the hospital changed its health insurance provider, significantly limiting where Rochelle's family, including her 6-month-old daughter, can get care.
Her pediatric doctor was no longer covered. And my OB is not covered. We're now out of network with all of our doctors.
Rochelle lives in Sunnyvale. She says her new insurance only works at Seton and John Muir Health, both of which are close to or even more than an hour away. She says she worries night and day about what would happen and how much it would cost if her daughter had a medical emergency.
I grew up with chronic asthma, and I actually have a food allergy. And right now at this point, what stresses me out the most is we're starting her on baby food. So she's learning how to eat baby food. I I'm afraid that what if she has an allergic reaction to some kind of food? Or what if she ends up having asthma like me?
Rochelle told me she feels betrayed.
I work full time for a hospital, and it's not fair that I have to worry on whether or not I can afford to get my daughter proper health care when I give up how many hours of my day. Instead of being home with her, I have to be at work.
That's why Rochelle joined hundreds of her coworkers on a 2-day strike outside the hospital, demanding better benefits. She told me she's doing all of this, picketing, speaking out, for one reason, and one reason only: to make sure her daughter has the medical care she needs and deserves.
I'm only fighting for my daughter. That is the only reason, one of the main reasons why I'm in this strike.
Well, Seton says it's already offered a 16% pay hike over the next 3 years, along with free medical benefits and up to 400 hours annually of accredited PTO. It added in a statement. They are disappointed with the union's decision to walk off the job in the middle of their negotiations. The hospital went on to say its priority is to provide uninterrupted care to patients. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area.
This is a career that if you're a young woman, that you can be self-supportive.
Deep breath in, blow it out.
Helping the next generation of women in health care, the success story of a tuition-free school right here on the peninsula. Plus, owning a boat is not cheap, and fees are about to skyrocket for boaters in San Francisco. Why they say they're not getting their money's worth, and new research into Alzheimer's and how it impacts people who care for those with the disease.
I pick my brackets strategically based on statistics.
And then I divide everything by the multiple of 68.
Picking a winner is so random.
You need a little luck.
Okay, there has to be some random element.
It's like blindly throwing darts.
UConn.
I just love how unpredictable it is every year.
Yes. Oh, no, not Vern.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh.
The tournament is on.
Everyone okay?
Play along with us tomorrow on the Morning Edition.
Today is going to be the driest day of the next 5. It is also going to be the mildest day of the next 5. We're looking at high temperatures today that'll make it into the mid to upper 60s, 67 degrees. For those of you watching us from San Jose and the South Bay, Oakland in the low 60s, San Francisco in the low 60s, upper 50s at the beach, Half Moon Bay and Pacifica. Novato, very chilly start for you. Petaluma as well. We had temperatures this morning as low as 37, but with sunshine this afternoon, you will make it up to the mid to upper 60s. Rain returns tomorrow. Details on that coming up.
Well, a hospital on the peninsula is helping fill a major shortage in the healthcare industry with a proud legacy dating back to the 1960s. In 1908, Sutter Health's Mills Peninsula Medical Center in Burlingame was created with the philanthropic help of Elizabeth Mills Reed. And then in 1963, Mills Peninsula followed her lead and created a tuition-free school of diagnostic imaging that is still preparing people to join the workforce today. And as Max Darrow shows us, the majority of the hundreds of graduates over the years are women.
I'm going to turn you. I'm just going to tie you up here in the
Sabina
back.
Palmieri conducts medical scans and
I'm going to have Sherry May, one of our students here, come
teaches future radiologic technologists the tools of the trade.
and then go ahead and put your marker on.
She's an instructor at the School of Diagnostic Imaging at Sutter Health's
Looks
Mills
great.
Peninsula Medical Center.
Great.
It's a tuition-free school where students get hands-on and real-world job experience
go ahead and put
guided
your
by
marker
professionals like Palmieri on the career path to becoming rad techs.
When they graduate, they're ready to go, they're confident.
Palmieri knows that firsthand.
Okay, here we are. This is my graduating class.
She graduated from the program in 1993.
I remember how happy I was to graduate, and I remember just being super excited to start my career.
30 years later, she continues to share that passion with the next generation of technologists.
If I can instill the love of radiology into them and also the care for the patients in our hospital, I'm just so happy to do that.
Her graduation photo is among the 60 others on the wall since the school's inception in 1963. And to take a quick scan of the photos, you'll notice the majority of the around 400 graduates are women, which is something Director Cynthia Payne takes a lot of pride in.
This is a career that if you're a young woman, that you can be self-supportive.
She says oftentimes medical imaging is what allows doctors to see.
This fracture right here.
Rad techs perform x-rays, CT scans, MRIs, ultrasounds, and more.
I'm sure the orthopedic surgeons had a field day with that one.
And Payne says they're in especially high demand right now throughout the medical world.
There is a big shortage across the country of technologists.
And women play an important role.
Men don't do mammography. Mammography is a big deal for screening purposes to prevent advanced stages of breast cancer.
Deep breath in, blow it out, and hold it out.
Palmieri hopes to encourage more women to follow her footsteps.
We also go out to high schools, career fairs or career days there, and just encourage young girls who may not have the opportunity to go to a four-year college.
She's been able to pursue a career path that has proven to be fulfilling and rewarding.
It's just a great way to give back to the community.
One image, and in her case, one student, 2 at a time.
And the school is funded through the philanthropy and other organizations that are taking applications for a few more days. It's a 2-year program. You don't need a 4-year college degree to be considered upon completion. Graduates are eligible to take the state and national certification examinations. Some graduates report starting salaries of $50 per hour. Well, the agency that managed both recreational and commercial fishing on the West Coast could alter a few rules for the upcoming 2024-2025 fishing season. The Pacific Fishery Management Council heard from the public last night in Santa Rosa. Those include starting dates, the areas open, and catch limits. They will make their decisions on any changes next month. One recreational fisherman said it is crucial to allow some level of fishing to keep the tradition lasting from generation to generation.
Every time there's a fishing season, there's new kids that go out and catch a salmon for the first time. And for many of them, it's their first step towards a life of being an environmental steward. It connects them to nature. So every year we're not able to do that, we lose that possibility, especially with young people.
The council says the amount of salmon arriving this year could be a mixed bag, but low and high points as compared to last year. Part of the agency's challenge is to meet federal requirements to conserve several species of the fish. Some San Francisco boat owners are seeing sticker shock after they just got word their fees could spike by more than 30%. It comes as city departments are under pressure to cut costs to deal with a massive budget deficit. Kenny Choi spoke to boaters who say the proposed fee hike is rocking the boat for, well, no good reason.
As the sun begins to set with the Golden Gate Bridge in the distance, boats make their way back to their slips.
This is San Francisco Harbor. It's a sailing harbor, some of the best sailing in the world.
Roger Cruzy has docked his boat in the city for more than 20 years, but is growing tired of paying rising harbor dues, as boaters say they're getting very little in return.
This is a publicly run marina. The services in this marina are the poorest.
The Recreation and Park Department recently proposed a set of rate hikes, one that kicks in later this year, and another next July that will total more than 30% of the fees they're paying now.
The city doesn't know how to run a yacht harbor, yet they're running it, right? And they're charging me more and more.
Cruzy pays about $12,000 annually. Other boaters with larger slips pay more than $30,000. He says the rising fees are frustrating when the basic upkeep of bathrooms, showers, and other harbor necessities is well below average.
It's a lot of money with all these rules attached to it and not having, some of the same quality of services that we get in other marinas.
Recreation and Park Director Phil Ginsberg and Deputy Tamara Aparton both declined on-camera interviews, choosing to send a statement instead that reads in part, Rec and Park prioritizes its funding to support recreation programs for children, seniors, and low-income families, as well as parks and playgrounds across the city. Therefore, it's important that the Marina Small Craft Harbor is financially self-sustaining.
I would love to see a consultant outside of the city that would come in and tell them how to properly run this and manage this harbor to meet budget.
A recent city analysis concluded a 31.4% increase in berthing rates was necessary for the marina to break even on operating costs. Cruzy is one of 600 vessel owners who will be impacted.
If the rates need to be raised, then give us better services and give us better rules to enjoy the money that we're spending on being in this harbor, in a lovely city, in a lovely bay that's a sailing bay.
Boaters say they're getting squeezed, but Cruzy isn't quite yet ready to give up a picture-perfect view of a city he still loves.
Well, the Budget and Finance Committee will discuss the hike in the coming weeks, then the Board of Supervisors will make a final decision. San Francisco's Bay Ferry service getting an upgrade. Pretty soon you'll be able to ride the MV Delphinus, the service's newest ship. Crew members celebrated with a christening and took off on its maiden voyage. The new ferry can hold up to 320 riders and even includes a bar on board. Okay. Free Wi-Fi and wheelchair access. Still ahead, little blue creatures are washing ashore on California beaches. We're going to explain what they are and why so many of them are popping up right now. And a reminder, you can stream CBS News Bay Area wherever, whenever. Catch all of our live newscasts plus news and weather updates throughout the day. Find us on the free CBS News app or on Pluto TV.
A chilly start, but a mild finish today in the North Bay. You're going to finish about 66 or 67 degrees. Novato up to 67, Petaluma 66. We'll lose a few degrees as we head across the Golden Gate into San Francisco. Hop across the Bay Bridge in Oakland. We'll have a high of 64, a little bit warmer for you in Concord and Walnut Creek. Fremont 65 degrees, Livermore, Pleasanton about 66. And then San Jose, your high today, about 67 degrees. Let's take a look at what we have going on with the pollen count. What happens is you get the rain, everything grows, it's springtime, then it stops raining, and the pollen count does this. The pollen count is very high today, will be higher than average tomorrow, but then the rain helps because the rain will wash out some of those pollen, and we'll see the pollen count drop to a medium level on Thursday and Friday. Snowpack is looking good, and we're adding more snow with our first storm tomorrow. The snowpack is sitting at 2% above average for the entire Sierra, 102% of normal. Your first alert weather headlines, a little bit of fog, a little bit of drizzle earlier today. Increasing sunshine, 2 storms. The weaker one is first, the stronger one is second. We'll talk about both in my full forecast coming up.
Well, for those of you headed to the coast, watch your step because blue creatures are washing up along the shoreline. These electric blue jellies are popping up on hundreds of California coasts. They're not actually jellyfish. They're a relative known by the wind sailors. So what are they doing here all of a sudden? Our Jose Martinez digs into the mystery.
I'm here in Ocean Beach where these blue jellies, you can see them over here, and they're kind of weird looking, are popping up all over this area. But what exactly are they? That's the question.
Interesting, all of these, wow.
They've been surfing at Ocean Beach for nearly 2 decades, so you might think he's seen it all when it comes to marine life. But this week, he spotted something new and weird.
And I was surfing and I was in the water and I just happened to notice a bunch of these. I hope, figure out what it is, where they're coming from and why, because I haven't seen them before.
These bluish blobs are known as by-the-wind sailors, or velela velela. If you want to get scientific about it, we actually did. So we went to Chrissy Petrosky at the California Academy of Sciences to explain what they are and what they're doing here.
They are not jellyfish, but they are relatives of jellyfish.
And they've been washing ashore along the California coast by the hundreds, from Point Reyes all the way down to Orange County. But why?
So these guys live out in the open ocean for most of their life cycle, and they are at the mercy of the oceans. They have tiny sails on their bodies, which they use to move around and migrate by the wind. And when the winds are blowing on shore, like in the spring and early summer, we see a lot of them washing ashore.
Chrissy says the blue coloring comes from the food they eat and helps camouflage them in the water. But the ones you find on the beach might not be so vibrant.
When they wash ashore, they tend to lose that blue color and they just dry out, and sometimes animals will come and eat them. They'll be eaten by birds and other, and become part of the local ecosystem.
As for humans, Chrissy says there's really nothing to worry about, but you should avoid touching them or letting your ducks get too close. Dave says he won't touch, but he certainly will look.
I just saw a headline and I didn't look any farther, but I will now.
And coming up in our next half hour on CBS News Bay Area, we'll look at the underdiagnosed syndrome that could help spot Alzheimer's earlier. Plus, an unusual court battle playing out in San Francisco, why pickleballers say multimillionaires with their own pickleball courts got them banned from the public ones. Ryan Yamamoto. This is the minute. Rescue crews are searching for survivors after a bridge in Baltimore collapsed. Dive teams are in the water looking for 6 missing people. This happened after a container ship hit a column on the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Authorities believe the ship lost power. Well, this year's 420 Festival in San Francisco has just been canceled. This is video from last year's event. The city cites budget cuts and challenges securing sponsorships. The event has traditionally drawn thousands to Hippie Hill and Golden Gate Park to celebrate the cannabis culture. 4 people are in custody after a pursuit ended with a rollover crash in Oakland. A chopper was over the sea in the Lakeshore and Beacon yesterday. Police say the chase started after $2,500 worth of merchandise was stolen from a Lululemon store in Napa. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast 8 and 9 p.m. on the all-new Pix Plus 4 to 4 Cable 12.
Weather should be pleasant today for the second game of the Bay Bridge Series. Of course, preseason spring training. The real games don't start until later on this week. First pitch in San Francisco, 5:05. We're looking at pleasant, breezy weather for baseball, but I'm glad we're getting this game in today, and it was yesterday and today, Oakland first, then San Francisco, because not the best weather for baseball after today. We're looking at rain chances returning. Sunshine today. We'll see lots of sunshine this afternoon if you're not already seeing that. And then that storm is going to roll in, and we will see an unsettled weather pattern as 2 different storms will be rolling through, the first of which gets here tomorrow. Not just rain. Often when a storm moves in from the north and west, wind comes along with it. And in San Francisco, we could see wind gusts as high as 27 miles per hour tomorrow evening. Oakland, 25 miles per hour, and Half Moon Bay, mid-20s as well. So it's going to be breezy to windy as well as soggy. Let's time out that rainfall, because it really depends on where you live. Because today, all of us stay dry. The storm is coming in from the north, so the North Bay will see clouds and rainfall moving in first. That will happen in Sonoma County and Mendocino County before sunrise on Wednesday. Light to moderate rain at times through mid-afternoon. And then the boundary gets here, and that's when all of us have an opportunity. Even the East Bay and the South Bay, you'll get some rainfall Wednesday evening and Wednesday night. Rainfall totals, we could see up to an inch in a few spots, including Napa, about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch in Petaluma, and San Francisco coming in at 1/2 of an inch of rain. Farther to the south, Half Moon Bay, 4/10 of an inch, and San Jose about 1/7 of 1 inch of rainfall. So what are we talking about for today? Today, we're talking about a pleasant, dry day. Upper 60s for San Jose, mid 60s for Fremont and Redwood City, 64 in Oakland, 61 in San Francisco, 60s for Novato, up to 67, and a very chilly start in Petaluma, but you're looking at afternoon highs making it into the upper 60s. Your extended forecast, please enjoy that dry while we have it. Today we're dry, and then after that, not for a while. Rain chance Wednesday evening. We're between systems, but still some scattered showers on Thursday. I didn't get a chance to talk much about the Friday, Saturday storm system. That's going to be around for a while. Take a look at those highs, only around 60, with much of your holiday weekend looking soggy. That's your forecast.
Well, a new study is out focusing on Alzheimer's and its impacts on the family members and friends who care for people living with that disease. Nearly 7 million adults over the age of 65 have Alzheimer's dementia in the United States, according to the Alzheimer's Association. Here in California, that number is more than 700,000, and there are 1.3 million caregivers. The latest report from the Alzheimer's Association finds that caregivers are facing increasing stress. The top 5 stressors are cost, coordinating with multiple doctors, securing appointments, getting help taking a break, and finding appropriate doctors.
Where to start, how to find the right doctor, understanding the disease. How can I make my way through this very complex system?
Support is so important. Don't wait. Get your family involved, get your friends involved.
And when you think of Alzheimer's disease, memory loss and dementia are only the most common symptoms. Now, as Elizabeth Cook shows us, doctors at UCSF are studying a bizarre underdiagnosed syndrome that impacts how a person sees, and it's often an early sign of Alzheimer's.
Susan and Charles Stewart will never forget when they first met. She was on vacation visiting from England. He was a friend of a friend. It was love at first sight.
Yeah.
4 months later, that first date became forever.
Yeah, we'd only spent 3 weeks together.
And we've been married now for 54 years.
54 years, yeah.
The secret to their successful marriage may be savoring life's simpler moments.
We walk, we do things together in the kitchen. One of the ways that we get through this is we do a lot together.
A few years ago, Charles was playing one of his favorite games, dominoes.
I just couldn't sequence anything. And I didn't realize it was because I was seeing double or wasn't seeing, you know, the numbers.
They went to several doctors, but none of them could identify what was going on.
I remember getting the MRI results and Charles coming in and saying, it's normal. This was in summer of 2020. And I was thinking, normal? You know, I'm really surprised.
They finally went to a neurologist, and their tests told a different story.
When they showed us the scans, you know, which kind of lit up like a Christmas tree.
Charles was diagnosed with posterior cortical atrophy, or PCA, a condition that impacts what his brain tells his eyes to see. It's an underdiagnosed syndrome that is often the first sign of Alzheimer's disease.
Patients who have posterior cortical atrophy, one of their main issues is to get the proper diagnosis, especially at an early stage. What happens is that usually they get to see their general practitioner, their PCP, they get to see eye doctors that don't actually understand what's going on because the eye in and of itself is totally fine. And usually there's a delayed diagnosis because it takes a while for the patient to be referred to a neurologist who knows about this syndrome.
Marianne Chaplot and Renaud Lejoie at UCSF led the first large-scale study of PCA. They found that 94% of patients with PCA had Alzheimer's pathology.
When you think about Alzheimer's disease, usually you think about someone who's in their 70s or 80s, has slowly progressive memory deficits. And we're particularly interested in those cases who have Alzheimer's disease that presents in a different way.
For Charles and Susan, getting that diagnosis was a relief.
When you know something, it's powerful.
The actual waiting for a diagnosis is much worse than the diagnosis itself.
Charles is participating in clinical trials so doctors can better understand this complicated disease. But he also has something special that doesn't come in the form of a drug.
I think it's a gift because it focuses you on trying to make your life and the lives of other people better.
His attitude's fantastic. It's kind of, you know, he makes life, he's very helpful, he's very kind, and it's kind of, for me, it's kind of like living with a 77-year-old that needs a little bit of help and doesn't remember things very well at this point. And we do realize that it's a progressive disease and things will get worse.
He also has a partnership that has proven it can weather any storm in sickness and in health.
PCA occurs in about 10% of Alzheimer's patients, but until now, it's been excluded from clinical trials. 94% of PCA patients have Alzheimer's. To put that into perspective, 70% of patients with dementia or memory loss are diagnosed with the disease. A battle is playing out in San Francisco between recreation and parks and the pickleball community. City workers recently started painting over the courts. Pickleballers claim they are being shut out after complaints from neighbors, but as Jenny Choi shows us, they are not giving up their courts without a fight.
1-0 start.
Pickleball has become Lisa Shaw's passion.
They love pickleball, and these courts are the ones they want to take away.
Once an avid tennis player, she's not relinquishing the courts without a fight.
It's really all about the community, and when you take away 6 courts from a very popular place, you're splitting up a community.
The Recreation and Parks Department recently put up signs saying tennis only, essentially shutting down 6 of the 12 pickleball courts. A Presidio Heights resident just across the street who owns a home listed for $29 million with a backyard pickleball court spearheaded an effort on change.org to shut down the public courts, complaining of noise impacting residents and wildlife.
It's the middle of the day when you live next to a playground or a park, you should expect noise.
It is loud. No one's going to say that it's not, right?
Joe Grossman lives just down the street too. He and dozens of pickleballers are willfully ignoring the closure signs to make a stand.
I can hear it from my house, but I mean, I'm sure these guys hear it all the time, hear it a lot louder and all the time. And it does suck about the noise, but just because you don't like something, it doesn't mean you get to, complain about it. And then at the end of the day, get your way about it.
It was just dictated by Park and Rec that they were taking away our courts. So, of course, we went into an uproar.
Nearby residents understand the tension, including Katie Pyle, whose father plays pickleball.
He can hear the pickleball in the morning, and I know it kind of bugs him, but he loves to play pickleball.
Yeah, good.
Shaw says the players roll away their own nets each day and clear the space if a tennis player shows up with a reservation. But she believes by closing the courts, the city is kowtowing to a select group of wealthy residents.
They should just come out and try to play. They'd probably be a lot happier. I mean, seriously, it's so good for your health. It's fun to be outside. It's a good excuse. People are nice and welcoming and friendly. And I'm happy to give a lesson for free.
It's an act of kindness, but she won't be giving away any courts without a fight.
And the homeowner who led the Change.org petition declined our request for comment. Rec and Park also declined multiple requests for an on-camera interview. Instead, they sent us a statement saying anytime a park this small starts drawing crowds this big, they have to adjust. They added that they're adding pickleball courts in other parts of the city to make up for the 6 they closed while limiting neighborhood headaches. Up next, it might be the final season for the A's at the Coliseum, and if it isn't hard enough, fans are getting hit with another surprise in Oakland.
Today is going to be the driest day of the next 5. It is also going to be the mildest day of the next 5. We're looking at high temperatures today that'll make it into the mid to upper 60s, 67 degrees. For those of you watching us from San Jose and the South Bay, Oakland in the low 60s, San Francisco in the low 60s, upper 50s at the beach, Half Moon Bay and Pacifica. Novato, very chilly start for you, Petaluma as well. We had temperatures this morning as low as 37, but with sunshine this afternoon, you will make it up to the mid to upper 60s. Rain returns tomorrow. Details on that coming up.
Well, today the Giants will host the A's for the second game of their Bay Bridge Exhibition Series. That game begins at 5:05 tonight. The Giants won the first round between the teams last night The score was 4-1. A's fans have been through a lot, and we're not talking about last night's loss. More might be on their minds, like where are they going to play after this season? But that the team's move to Las Vegas wasn't enough. Wilson Walker shows us how fans are outraged by a move to change the rules around tailgating at the Coliseum.
Okay. Dad, how long have we been coming here? Yeah.
I've been coming here before you were even born.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a while.
For the Hangman family, the A's have been a generational affair. They came to kick off the season with some tailgating. Only when they got here, the new hours took them by surprise.
Yeah, we were confused with the 2 hours. We thought we were able to get in 4 early, you know, and so we got here a little early, and now we just had to wait.
Oh, God. Yeah, so we had a feeling they were going to do something like this, right? I mean, we anticipate their moves before they make them. And
Brian Johansson is one of the founders of Last Dive Bar, which has been fighting the A's departure for a couple of years, and now that means a full-scale boycott.
Yeah, our intent is not to go to any games whatsoever. You know, John Fisher doesn't deserve our money. The A's organization, the front office, do not deserve the love.
But they will show up with a message on Thursday night by packing the parking lot for the regular season opener with a massive tailgate juxtaposed to all of the empty seats inside. He says the shortened lot hours are a response to that plan.
Well, it tells us that they're trying to thwart the efforts and the effect that the boycott will have. They want less people in that parking lot for as least amount of hours as possible.
So this is how the potential final chapter in Oakland begins for the A's, on ground that hosted another long goodbye not too many years ago.
Oh yeah, it's like the Raider fans crying. You know, this is super sad. It's a dismal day for a dismal afternoon, yeah.
The Raiders it wasn't as tough as this. This is like a slow, drawn out, just vindictive relocation process.
Yeah, I don't know about the boycotting, but regardless, we're still here. Because we don't know if it's going to be the last season here or not. We don't know if it's where we're going to be in a year from now.
Well, now to women's college basketball. We're asking basketball fans, how's your bracket looking? Well, our number 2 seeded Stanford Cardinals edged out Iowa State Sunday night. They're now on their way to the Sweet 16, but now we know they'll be taking on the number 3 seed North Carolina State. Wolfpack is a force to be reckoned with. In the second round, they withstood a hard second-half comeback to beat the number 6 seed Tennessee. You can watch Stanford take on NC State this Friday. Coming up, it's called Black Terminus, and it's creating a lot of buzz. We'll explain how an app created by a Bay Area artist can transform a $20 bill into an immersive experience.
chilly start, but a mild finish today in the North Bay. You're going to finish about 66 or 67 degrees. Novato up to 67, Petaluma 66. We'll lose a few degrees as we head across the Golden Gate into San Francisco. Hop across the Bay Bridge, and Oakland will have a high of 64, a little bit warmer for you in Concord and Walnut Creek. Fremont 65 degrees, Livermore, Pleasanton about 66. And then San Jose, your high today, about 67 degrees. Let's take a look at what we have going on with the pollen count. What happens is you get the rain, everything grows, it's springtime, then it stops raining, and the pollen count does this. The pollen count is very high today, will be higher than average tomorrow, but then the rain helps because the rain will wash out some of those pollen, and we'll see the pollen count drop to a medium level on Thursday and Friday. Snowpack is looking good, and we're adding more snow with our first storm tomorrow. The snowpack is sitting at 2% above average for the entire Sierra, 102% of normal. Your first alert weather headlines, a little bit of fog, a little bit of drizzle earlier today. Increasing sunshine, 2 storms. The weaker one is first, the stronger one is second. We'll talk about both in my full forecast coming up.
Well, the world's biggest game developers conference wrapped up in San Francisco. Innovation is at the heart of these conferences, and tens of thousands of people flocked to the city last week to show off the latest cutting-edge technology. Kenny Choi met one Oakland developer who's new to the gaming world, but it's generating a lot of buzz with his creation.
Damian McDuffie has built an app that is bringing art to life.
What I really wanted to do is figure out ways that we could take physical artifacts and bring them together with digital assets and tell new stories.
It's called Black Terminus.
This is something I've never been more clear about, like the end result in my life.
Take a close look at how it identifies a $20 bill with Andrew Jackson on its face and transforms it into an immersive experience, featuring instead abolitionist and social activist Harriet Tubman.
Through our app and through our camera, we can have people look through and see those moments come to life.
The West Oakland native is an artist, historian, and archivist. But in the span of 2 years, he's becoming a developer in augmented reality, taking monuments, pictures, and art in his community and changing the way people interact with them.
It's our hope that experiencing it, one, some of the stories will kind of resonate a little bit more because it's a deeper connection.
The largest game developers conference in the world is helping McDuffie collaborate with potential partners. Deep Mirror, based in Santa Clara, is taking real-time positioning and 3D mapping to another level and fine-tuning its headset, like many other companies.
The users or the players can play the game without holding a tablet. They can just walk around with their headsets on and then have the virtual version of the scene in their headset.
My ideas have just started going crazy just by being able to interact with what they have.
The Oakland Tech graduate is embracing the challenge of his pioneering work in a world that was not long ago foreign, but is quickly becoming his familiar ecosystem.
Environments that have to do with like tech or gaming or even business or oil or anything like that, somebody like me is going to be the minority or going to be not as many black folks in tech. That's just the numbers.
McDuffie hopes the path he and other black developers are paving will create more opportunities for those following in their footsteps.
I think the kids are going to be the ones who actually take this kind of to where I imagine it should go.
It's a vision that's becoming clear for McDuffie in an augmented reality world.
Well, McDuffie says his idea was initially inspired during a visit to museums in Thailand and Japan. Those museums had incorporated augmented reality into some of their exhibits. Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your first alert forecast and a look at some of your top stories. Ryan Yamamoto. This is The Minute. There's a race to find survivors on the East Coast after a bridge in Baltimore collapsed. Dive teams are in the water searching for 6 missing people. This happened after a container ship hit a column on the Francis Scott Keys Bridge. Authorities believe the ship lost power. Nearly 8,000 PG&E customers in San Francisco briefly lost power this morning. This is a look at the utilities outage map. PG&E says most customers do have their power back on now. That outage happened around 8 o'clock this morning. The cause is under investigation. The independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is in Oakland today, where he will announce his running mate. The LA Times reports Oakland native and tech attorney Nicole Shanahan is a potential front runner. Shanahan also bankrolled a Super Bowl ad this year for Kennedy. I'm Ryan Yamamoto, and this is The Minute.
Weather should be pleasant today for the second game of the Bay Bridge Series. Of course, preseason spring training. The real games don't start until later on this week. First pitch in San Francisco.